Why is it that those chosen by God often have to walk alone? Could it be that the pain, rejection, and wilderness are actually God's way of preparing you? And what if the silence isn't absence, but the very season where God is working the most? If you're in a season of uncertainty, feeling overlooked, or wondering if God still sees you, this video is exactly what you need to hear. Make sure to watch until the end, because the closing message holds a powerful truth that may help you finally understand the value, purpose, and divine calling placed inside you. Don't miss it. What you've been waiting for could be in the final moments. There's something about being chosen that not everyone truly understands. When you are set apart for a purpose greater than yourself, it carries a weight, a burden that most people will never have to bear. The chosen ones, those destined for something higher, always walk a different path. And because that path is different, it often means walking it alone. When God calls you, He doesn't lead you down the easy road. He doesn't place you in the middle of the crowd where you can blend in and feel safe. No, He pulls you out. He dit, sets you apart. And that separation can feel like isolation. It can feel like loneliness, like rejection, like you don't belong anywhere. But here's the truth. You were never meant to belong. You were meant to lead. The burden of being chosen is real. It makes you see things through a different lens. It tunes your ears to hear things others cannot. The vision burning inside your spirit, the fire God has placed within you, will lead you down a path few can understand. You'll try to explain it, and they'll look at you like you're speaking a foreign language. You'll want to bring them with you, but they won't want to come. And that's where the pain begins. Because being chosen doesn't just separate you from the world. It can separate you from the people you love most. Some of you reading this know exactly what I'm talking about. You've had moments where you felt completely alone, wondering why no one truly gets you. You've sat in crowded rooms and still felt like an outsider. You've been surrounded by friends and family, and yet felt an emptiness inside. Deep down, you just knew. You were made for something else. And I want you to understand something. That feeling, it's not a mistake. That loneliness, it's not an accident. It's a sign that God is doing something within you that He isn't doing in everyone else. When you are chosen, you cannot live like everyone else. You cannot think like them, move like them, or follow the same rhythm. That's why you don't fit in. That's why you struggle to relate. But have you ever stopped to wonder? The loneliness you're walking through is not a sign you've gone the wrong way. It's the clearest sign that you've been set apart. Because there's something different, something sacred inside of you. God has placed something within you that doesn't look like everyone else. And because of that, He must separate you. Because what He's building in you demands your focus. It requires discipline. It calls for obedience. And above all, it requires you to release your need to be understood. Throughout Scripture, we see a recurring pattern. Before God elevates someone, He often isolates them. Look at Moses, raised in Pharaoh's palace, but never truly one of them, called to lead his people, but rejected by them at first. Look at Joseph, given a divine dream, but betrayed and sold by his own brothers. Look at David, anointed as king, yet sent back again and again to tend sheep in the fields. Do you see the pattern? Before the chosen ones can step into their destiny, they must walk through the season of isolation. And that isolation, It breaks you. It humbles you. It brings you to your knees before God. But that breaking? It's necessary, because when God is preparing you for something great, He must strip away everything that cannot come with you. Relationships that were only meant for a season, habits that no longer serve your calling, distractions that keep you from hearing His voice clearly. And sometimes, the only way He can do that is to pull you away from everything and everyone you thought you couldn't live without. I know it's hard. I know there have been nights when you've cried out, wondering why God would place such a heavy burden on your shoulders. I know there have been moments when you've whispered, maybe I'm not strong enough for this. But I came to remind you, you are. You were built for this. You were chosen for this. And if God called you to it, He will give you the strength to carry it. Loneliness is not the end of your story. It is the beginning. It is the refining fire that purifies your purpose. It's the sacred space where God speaks the loudest. It's the training ground for something far greater than you've ever imagined. So don't fight it. Don't run from it. Lean into it. Because when the moment comes, when God finally says, now, it's time to step fully into your calling, you'll look back and realize the loneliness was never loneliness at all. It was God walking with you, shaping you, preparing you, and then, after the long season of isolation, comes a painful truth: rejection. Once you've been set apart, you will eventually face this moment, the sting of being turned away, not by strangers, but by the very people you believed would stand with you. Rejection has a way of cutting deep. It makes you doubt yourself. You begin to ask, am I really enough? Am I truly worthy of the calling that burns inside me? Or is it all just wishful thinking? You step out in faith, believing that others will recognize what God has placed in you, believing they'll support you, stand beside you. But instead, they turn away. They distance themselves. They dismiss you. And that pain, it doesn't just touch your heart. It shakes your very soul. But let me tell you this: rejection is not punishment. It is preparation. It's not God saying you're not enough. It's God saying you're being set apart. Too often, we take rejection personally. We see it as failure, as a sign we're not wanted, not valuable. But when God allows rejection in your life, it's because He's redirecting your path. He's protecting you from settling for something less than what He designed you for. Look at Joseph, rejected by his own brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery. He had dreams, visions from God. But before stepping into his destiny, he had to walk through the fire of betrayal and rejection. Had his brothers accepted him, he would have remained where he was. If they had embraced him, he would have never been forced onto the road that led him to Egypt, to the palace, to the position God had already prepared. You see, sometimes the very people you thought would support you will be the ones to push you away. They won't understand your vision. They won't see what you see. And you'll be tempted to shrink, to lower your calling just to feel accepted. But God didn't call you to be accepted. He called you to be set apart. He called you to rise above, to go where others refuse to go. And that means rejection isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. So when rejection comes, don't waste your time chasing after people who can't see your worth. Don't sit in sorrow over doors that have closed. Because if God allowed that door to shut, it's because something greater is waiting to be opened. Don't forget, a closed door doesn't always mean the end. Sometimes it's the very beginning of something greater. You might not see it now. You may not understand why you've been rejected, abandoned, or pushed aside. But if you keep walking, if you keep trusting, if you keep believing, there will come a moment when it all makes sense. You'll realize that every rejection was actually a disguised blessing. Every no was just a step leading you toward a greater yes. Some of you are still clinging to the pain of rejection, and it's holding you back from stepping into what God has prepared for you. You're still thinking about the people who walked away, still haunted by the words they said, still letting their opinions define your worth. But hear me, your value is not in the hands of those who rejected you. Your calling is not canceled just because someone didn't believe in you. If God called you, that's all the confirmation you need. If He chose you, then no rejection can stop the plans He has for your life. You have to shift your perspective. Stop seeing rejection as loss, and start seeing it as a sign that God is moving. He's shutting the doors that need to stay closed. He's removing people who cannot go where He's taking you. He's positioning you so that when you step into your destiny, you'll be in the right place with the right people at the right time. Even Jesus Himself faced rejection. He was despised, mocked, and ridiculed by the very people He came to save, betrayed by those closest to Him. Yet not once did He allow rejection to stop Him from fulfilling His purpose. If even Jesus had to face rejection, why do we expect to be embraced? Why do we believe that being chosen means being welcomed? The truth is, the greater the calling, the deeper the rejection. The higher the purpose, the lonelier the road. But here's what you need to understand. Rejection is not the end of your story. It's a vital part of your preparation. It's shaping you, refining you, making you stronger, so that when you finally step into the place God has been leading you, you'll look back and realize every rejection was God's way of saying, I have something better. You'll see that He was always in control, always guiding your steps, always preparing you for something greater than you could have ever imagined. And when you stop weeping over rejection, when you lift your head and trust that God is leading you the right way, that's when you begin stepping closer to the purpose He's prepared for you. Don't lower your head just to be accepted. Stand tall, hold your head high, and remember, you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out. And God is using every rejection to push you closer to your divine calling. There comes a moment in life when you realize a deep truth. Before God elevates you, He first allows you to be broken. But it's not the kind of breaking that destroys you. It's the kind that purifies, the kind that strips away everything that cannot go with you into your next season. It's the kind of breaking that humbles, that refines, that prepares. Because God never promotes without preparation. And preparation always comes with pain. Many people believe being chosen means an easy road, a life without struggle. But if you look at anyone God has ever used, you'll see a pattern repeated again and again. Before the elevation, there is isolation. Before the breakthrough, there is heartbreak. Before the crown, there is crushing. And in that crushing, you will feel like everything is falling apart. You'll feel the very things you thought were secure being stripped away. You'll cry out, "Why would God allow so much pain when all I've tried to do is follow Him?" But that's what it means to be chosen. You have to endure what others won't, because you're being prepared for what others can't carry. When God places a high calling on your life, He cannot afford to let you walk into it unprepared. He can't allow pride, bitterness, unforgiveness, or dependence on people to go with you. So He allows the breaking, not because He's cruel, but because He knows that what He has for you is far too great to be carried by who you are right now. Look at David. He was anointed as a young man, called to be king. But before he ever touched the throne, he had to run for his life. He hid in caves. He was betrayed by the very people he once defended. God had already chosen him, but David wasn't ready yet. He had the anointing, but he still needed the process. And that process was painful. Some of you are in that process right now. You're in the middle of the breaking, and you don't understand why. You're looking around at your life, wondering why doors keep closing, why relationships keep falling apart. But what you can't yet see is that in this very breaking, God is shaping you. When you're in the middle of that breaking process, there comes a moment when you look up and wonder, why does everything keep falling apart? The very things you prayed for now seem to be slipping through your fingers, and you find yourself asking God, why me? Why this? Why now? And the answer is surprisingly simple. Because He is shaping you into who you were, always meant to become. Gold isn't refined in calm. It's refined in fire. Diamonds aren't formed in comfort, but under pressure. Olive oil doesn't flow unless the olive is crushed. And you, what God has placed inside of you, the dreams, the purpose, the strength He knows is within you, it can only be revealed through the breaking. It doesn't come forth when life is easy. It doesn't surface when everything is going smoothly. It's drawn out when you are on your knees, when you've lost everything, and the only thing you can hold on to is His word. You may not see it now, but one day you will look back and thank Him for the breaking. You will realize that every tear, every heartbreak, every loss was not working against you, but working for you. You'll understand that what you once saw as rejection was actually protection. What you called suffering was actually preparation. What you thought was the end was actually the beginning of the person God was forming you to be. So don't resist the process. Don't try to rush the healing. Let God do what He needs to do. Let Him strip away what no longer serves you. Let Him remove the distractions, the attachments, the things holding you back from fully stepping into your calling. Yes, it will hurt. Yes, it might feel unfair. But when He's finished, you will rise stronger, wiser, unshakable. And when the moment comes, when God lifts you up, you will be ready. When God sets you apart, He doesn't always make it obvious. He doesn't always announce it with signs and wonders that leave people in awe. No, He does something far more subtle, far more powerful. He makes you different. And for a long time, you might not even understand it yourself. You just know you don't quite fit in. You can be surrounded by people, yet feel like you're walking a completely different path. You may have opportunities in front of you, yet something deep inside whispers, this isn't your way. Sometimes the very feeling of not fitting in is the confirmation that you were never meant to. You try to form connections, build relationships, but they never seem to last. And eventually, the questions start creeping in. Why? Why do I always feel like I don't belong? Why does my path feel so different from everyone else's? The answer, though simple, is profound. Because you were never meant to blend in. You were never created to fit into places where you do not belong. You weren't designed to mirror the world, because the calling on your life is unlike anyone else's. There's something sacred, something intentional, that God has placed within you. Something set apart for a purpose greater than what you can see right now. And that kind of purpose, it doesn't follow the common path. It demands a process that few will ever understand. There's a heaviness that comes with being chosen, a certain loneliness that tends to follow divine assignment. And if you're not careful, you may begin to resent the very thing that makes you different. You might start seeing your uniqueness as a burden instead of the blessing it truly is. You'll start believing that something must be wrong with you because you don't think like others, you don't move like others, and you certainly don't settle like others. But hear this clearly: being different is not a curse. It is living proof that God's hand is on your life. It is evidence that He is calling you higher, preparing you for something greater, something that requires you to be set apart. And that kind of preparation, it's not easy. It means you will lose people along the way. It means you'll face seasons where it feels like no one, not a single soul, understands what you're walking through. It means stepping through doors alone, trusting that if God led you there, He will also sustain you there. It means making choices that don't make sense to the people around you, decisions rooted not in logic, but in faith and sacrifice. Look at Moses. He grew up in Pharaoh's palace, surrounded by wealth, privilege, and power. He could have stayed. He could have lived a comfortable life, but deep within him, he knew, this is not where I belong. That sense of holy discomfort stirred something deeper. He was called to something far greater, and that calling, it led him straight into the wilderness, into isolation, into a season where the only thing he had left was God. And some of you are in that wilderness right now. You're in the place where everything feels stripped away, where the silence is deafening, and where God feels close, but also quiet. Even in the wilderness, when all feels quiet, when you feel cut off from what used to be familiar, God is still working behind the scenes. There are moments when it feels like you're walking alone, like everything comfortable has been stripped away. And in those moments, the mind starts to wander. Did I miss something? Did I take a wrong turn? Did I somehow fail God? But listen closely. This is not punishment. This is preparation. God hasn't separated you to harm you. He's set you apart to ready you. He's teaching you how to lean on Him, how to trust Him even when you can't see 5 steps ahead. He's calling you to walk by faith, especially when the path disappears beneath your feet. And when the time is right, when all that He's been building in secret finally unfolds, you'll look back and understand. Every lonely season, every tough decision, every moment you felt misplaced, it all served a purpose. You'll see that God was never silent. He was never absent. He was never ignoring you. All along, He was shaping you, setting you apart, making sure that when it was finally time for you to step into your assignment, you would be ready. But here's something else you need to know. There's something about being chosen that puts a mark on you. The moment God places a calling on your life, the battle begins. And for many, that battle doesn't wait. It starts early. Some of you have been fighting for as long as you can remember. You've battled for your peace, your purpose, even for the right to simply exist. It's not that you went looking for the war. No, the war found you, and you've wondered, why has my life felt like a battlefield while others seem to have it easier? Why have I endured so much rejection, betrayal, heartbreak, and loss? Let me tell you something that may shift everything. The intensity of the attack is proof of the anointing on your life. The enemy doesn't waste time on people who pose no threat. He doesn't bother with those who have no purpose, no destiny, no fire inside of them. No, he targets the ones who carry weight in the kingdom. He goes after the ones chosen for something greater. And that's why the fight has been so fierce. That's why you've endured things that could have, should have destroyed you. That's why the enemy has tried to silence you, distract you, break you, again and again. Because he sees it. He sees what's inside of you, even when you don't see it yet. Just look at Joseph. God gave him a dream, a vision of purpose and influence. Joseph had a dream, a glimpse of who he was destined to become. But like many of us, the dream didn't come to life right away. Remember what we just learned. Being chosen makes you a target. And Joseph, he was no exception. Before he ever stepped into his destiny, he had to walk through the pit. He had to be betrayed by his own brothers, sold like a stranger into slavery, falsely accused by those he served, and thrown into prison like a criminal. From the outside, his life looked like it was unraveling. Everything seemed to be falling apart. But in God's eyes, everything was falling into place. Every hardship Joseph faced, every betrayal, delay, and painful moment was not the end of the promise. It was the path to it. Each trial was positioning him exactly where God needed him to be. Each setback was actually a setup. And some of you are in that very place right now. You feel like you're in a pit. You're staring at the mess, wondering, how could this possibly be God's plan? You've battled more than you can explain, struggled more than others know, and still can't see the point in the pain. But let me remind you, just because you don't see the plan doesn't mean God isn't working one. What's happening behind the scenes is far greater than you can imagine. Every battle you've fought, every storm you've survived, has been training ground for where God is leading you. The very things that were sent to break you, God has been using them to build you. The weight that was meant to crush you, He's using it to make you stronger. Because here's the truth. God doesn't entrust great responsibility to those who haven't been tested. He doesn't elevate the unprepared. So what may feel like warfare is really warfare with a purpose. He allows the pressure not to destroy you, but to develop you. He permits the struggle not to defeat you, but to equip you. Because if you are going to carry the weight of the calling on your life, you need more than desire. You need strength. You need wisdom. You need endurance. You need to be the kind of person who can stand when everything in you wants to sit down. Who keeps going when everything around you says quit? And that, friend, is why the enemy has fought you so hard. That's why the pressure has felt relentless. Because he knows that once you step fully into who God created you to be, once you walk in the power and authority that already lives inside you, there is nothing he can do to stop you. He can launch attacks, but he can't take your calling. He can put obstacles in your path, but he can't override what heaven has already written over your life. So don't let the battle make you bitter. Don't let the fire make you forget who you are. Every struggle is confirmation. You are not average. You are not ordinary. You are chosen. You are marked. And heaven's hand is resting on your life. Even in the midst of fire, God has been building something within you. And soon, you'll see the other side, because you will come out of this. And when you do, you won't just survive. You'll rise, stronger, wiser, sharper. You will be ready for everything God has promised you. So keep fighting, keep standing, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, because victory is already yours. Not because the path is easy, but because the one who called you is faithful. When God places a calling on your life, He doesn't just prepare the path ahead. He prepares you for the path. And that preparation, it's rarely smooth. It's almost never what you expected. And more often than not, it's nothing you would have chosen for yourself. Because being chosen doesn't mean everything will fall neatly into place. It doesn't mean every door will swing wide open. It doesn't mean everyone will clap when you step out in obedience. Sometimes, being chosen means walking alone. It means being misunderstood, even rejected, by the very people you once believed would stand with you. Sometimes, it means facing storms that came out of nowhere, fighting battles you never imagined you'd have to face. And in those moments, those quiet, painful, confusing moments, you may begin to question it all. Am I really called? Is God still with me? Because in your mind, if you were truly chosen, wouldn't the road be easier? Wouldn't the people closest to you see your heart? Wouldn't doors open and burdens lift? But what if I told you that the struggle is the sign? That the loneliness is not proof you've been forgotten, but that you've been set apart. That the breaking is actually the making. Think about David. When the prophet came to anoint the next king, David wasn't in the lineup. He wasn't even considered by his own father. He was just a boy, out in the field, overlooked, forgotten, unseen. And yet, he was the one God had chosen. But after the anointing, life didn't get easier. It got harder. David didn't go straight to the throne. He went straight into hardship. He found himself running for his life, hiding in caves, betrayed by allies, misunderstood by many. He fought giants with nothing but a stone and faith. He faced battles he never asked for, yet every one of those battles was molding him into the king God had called him to be. Some of you, you're in that same kind of season right now. You feel pushed aside, unseen, and worn down by the weight of life. You've been faithful, yet the doors remain closed. You've obeyed God, yet the road feels rough and steep. You've been walking the path faithfully, but now you're starting to wonder if you still have the strength to keep going. But let me remind you, just because the promise hasn't shown up yet, doesn't mean it's not on the way. Just because you're still in the wilderness doesn't mean you've lost your direction. God isn't punishing you. He's preparing you. In the silence, He's building your strength. In the hidden place where no one sees and no one claps, He's shaping your character. He's teaching you how to trust Him when you've run out of things to cling to. Because when the moment comes, when God opens the door and says, "Now," you won't just be ready. You'll be unshakable. And here's something else to remember. Not everyone will understand this process you're in. Not everyone will see what God is doing behind the curtain of your life. Some will question it, others will walk away from you. They won't recognize the depth of what's inside of you, and that's okay. Don't let their confusion make you doubt what God has already confirmed. Don't let their rejection cause you to question your identity. If people leave, let them. If doors close, trust they were never meant to stay open. And if the road feels harder than you expected, remember this: it's because what God is building inside you is bigger than you could have ever imagined. The chosen will always face the fiercest battles. They will carry the heaviest burdens. But they will also walk in the greatest power. Because when you've been tested, when you've been refined by fire, when you've walked through valleys that could have broken you and still held on to your faith, nothing can shake you. Nothing can stop you. So don't be discouraged by the process. Don't lose sight of the promise just because of the pressure. Keep walking, keep trusting, keep believing. Because what God has spoken over your life will not return void. And when the moment comes, when the preparation is finished, and all that He's been building in you is fully ready, nothing in this world will be able to stop what heaven has already ordained. So stay faithful, stay strong, stay planted, because your time is coming. So don't hold back any longer. You are not lost, you're being shaped. You're not forgotten. You've been set apart. And when God's appointed time comes, nothing will be able to stop you from stepping into the destiny He prepared. If this message spoke to your heart, hit subscribe to stay connected and never miss another powerful word. More videos are coming, filled with wisdom, encouragement, and fire to strengthen your walk of faith. The journey isn't over, and we're walking it together.